Hi everybody, welcome to Facebook, welcome to Table Talk on this Thursday night. Hope you've had a great day. Derek and Georgina Smith here from King's Church, and we're missing you all, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Hi everyone.
I hope you've just been out clapping the carers with the NHS on the street. We've been out doing our bit, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we've enjoyed that. And we're so pleased also that Boris Johnson is out of critical care now and he's back on his ward.
Yeah.
And so that's good news and something we've prayed for as a church. So get a brew, start joining us. We'll start in a few minutes. But while we're waiting, just kind of keep coming in.
Yeah.
I'm going to look on the Facebook feed, see who's joining us.
Say hi to us.
Yeah, say hello, give us a thumbs up. If we can get on Facebook.
Bob
feed.
Nichols is watching. Hi, Bob.
Well, right, where are you? I can't get mine.
Oh,
I can't get mine. Oh, no.
no, just press on it there. Wait.
Right.
Just a technical
Technical,
lesson, guys.
we're having a technical lesson.
Hang on, start
Just
short.
press on it.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. Oh, Karen Griffiths from Blackpool. Hi, Karen. Come in, everybody. Marlene, James. Who's Boo? Are you a ghost, James? Boo, okay. Adam I Slips on, Chris Jones. Great to see everybody. Liz Reed, Steve Crossley, Paul Partington. Hi, everybody. Hope you've had a great day. Sun's been shining in sunny Bolton.
Yeah, what you been doing, Des?
I have been on Zoom. I have been a little bit of shopping, and I've done a little bit of gardening as well. Probably because of that red face. I think I've got a bit of sun today, haven't I? Yeah, looking well. What have you been doing today? Come on, tell them. Tell the screen.
Well, my day started that I did what's it called? The Joe Wicks workout level 1.
And she told us 55 times she's aching.
I've been doing it for a week and I am aching from head to toe. Muscles that have not been used for 30 years are screaming. They don't like it.
Honestly, it's been like, there's been noises going for Johnny I've never heard before.
You, Derek and Oliver just are in the corner just laughing at me when I do it. Just like sniggering.
We're motivating her. We're motivating.
Appalled at how unfit I am, but I made a start.
Hi, Ann Dwyer's joined. Hi, everybody. Hi, Trish. Hi, Naomi. Lisa Daniels from Blackpool. Oh, good to see you, Lisa.
Hi, Natalie.
Reverend Ellison from the North East. How are you, man? How you doing? So, Natalie Keogh. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
Hope you've been walking the dogs in the park today. Sometimes see you when I'm running.
Oh, not that Natalie.
Is that it? No, it's a different. No, that's a different Natalie. I know two Natalie Keoghs, you know.
Right.
I know two Natalie Keoghs. Isn't that a wonderful thing? Naz is on from the northeast. Hi, Dorothy. Good to see you, Dorothy. Jeanette's on.
Yeah.
Oh, I better behave then if Jeanette's watching.
From Gateshead. Chris Jones. Hi, guys.
What have you been doing today? Hope you've all had a productive lockdown.
Yeah.
And welcome to Smith Towers. We've had a great day. Lots of meetings today on Zoom, speaking with people all over the world today, and a few people a bit more local. And I queued up outside Morrison's for 45 minutes, staying 2 meters away from the person in front of me and 2 meters away from the person behind me. So as what the government have required, so I've done it perfectly. In the shop, the people were all around you. I don't know how that works.
It's weird. It is weird, isn't it? When you go shopping, it is so.
It is. It's
unusual.
It is absolutely.
Yeah,
weird.
You got told off, didn't you?
Yeah, I always get told off.
We went to Aldi a few days ago. We should really do this once a week, but I think we're just so desperate to get out. We go more than once a week. And we were going in together with our trolley, and you said you couldn't go in because you're only allowed.
I was ejected from Aldi. I wasn't allowed in. It's got this bad in our house that date night is a day in Aldi, and I got up.
What do you mean? It's always been.
Listen, I got up this morning excited. I was going to Morrison's. I was looking forward to it, and it was great.
Yeah, the weather's good.
Yeah, weather's good. We're going to have a good weekend. So we're just waiting for a few more to join us, and we will start talking. Hi, Hannah from Blackpool. Great to see you. And Emily, Steph Ashworth watching. Yeah, loads more joining us. Keep joining us. We're looking forward to seeing you. We do miss you. You have no idea how much me and Georgina talk about you, think about you. And particularly Easter. Easter's a great time to get together for outreach, and I love Good Friday services. I love Easter Sunday services, and we can't be together physically, but we are going to be together online, and we'll tell you a little bit about that later, about what we're doing Good Friday and Easter Sunday. But we're going to be together. We're going to make it work, church.
Yeah.
We hope you're doing well. Hope you're not down and discouraged. We don't want that. We want you to be filled with faith.
Yeah.
And yeah, we know there's some difficult things happening in our world. We're not pretending, we're not in denial. But we just want to come right into your home to encourage you tonight and tell you that we're praying for you. King's Church is for you. God is for you. And we're going to come through this. We're going to learn some lessons in it. And we're going to be better the other side of this. So keep coming in. Mark Daniel is watching. Tracy Wilkinson, hi. Meg Ellison's watching, and she's also talking to Trish. Ooh. Susie Monks is on. Hi, Susie. Good to see a few of our Persian campus coming on. So we're around the 150 mark. So shall we launch into what we wanted to talk to you tonight about? Okay, well, church, we wanted to share with you tonight. A table talk is basically where we just want to come into your home and share some great thoughts. And tonight, what me and Georgina thought we would do, we would share from our journey. We've been doing King's Church for 15 years this year, but we have been in ministry for just over 30 years now. And before that, we spent 3 years. I spent 3 years itinerant traveling, and you did a year. So what we're going to do tonight is we're kind of going to go back. We're going to talk to you about some of the stuff we've learned. We're going to bring it right up to date with King's Church. And we're doing this to encourage you that your pastors are ordinary people. We are an ordinary family where we have had our ups and downs. We've had our fights. Not together. Well, we've had a few rows but over the years. But we've had our fights, our challenges in ministry. But after 30 years of serving God full time, we can say God is good. He's been faithful to us, and with no regrets at all. So we'll go back, and I think that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, we're going to pray, and we're going to thank God for you guys watching, and just generally for everything that God is doing in our world at this time. So, Father God, we thank you for your goodness to us. We thank you tonight that as this goes across the airwaves, God, may it find people that need encouragement. May it find people that need hope. Amen. May it find people that need some wisdom, some breakthrough tonight. And we just pray through what we share over this next 45 minutes that Jesus, you'll be honoured, and that we will be encouraged as a church. For anybody, God, that is watching that's not familiar with church or not a regular churchgoer, God, may they feel welcome, may they feel ministered to in your name. Amen. Amen. So let's go back right to the beginning with you. I wasn't brought up in church. I was brought up doing naughty things. You were brought up. You were brought up in church, weren't you?
Well, my mum, became a Christian when I was about 4, and a long story. She first started to go to a church that was very traditional, and then met a neighbour who was Pentecostal and charismatic, and we ended up going to the Pentecostal church. So really, I can't remember anything before church. I've always, Tuesday night was Bible study, Thursday night was prayer meeting, Friday night with youth.
Wow.
Sunday school on a Sunday afternoon.
Mine was like... Tuesday night was Stag's Head, Wednesday night was the Royal Oak, Thursday night was in town, Friday night was in town, Saturday night was Peppermint Place in Blackburn, and Sunday night was the Queen Anne anyway. Yeah. So very different upbringing.
Very different upbringing.
How on earth did we get together?
Well, do you remember, was it 1986, 1987, we both went to a youth rally. The first time I ever saw Derek, and I remember, his mum won't like me for saying this, but I remember our youth group joined with the Bolton youth group. I was in a youth group in Failsworth in Manchester.
I was going to church by this time, wasn't I?
He was saved, he was going to church, he was a Christian, only about a year or so. Maybe a couple of years. And your youth group came to our church, and we all got on a big coach together to go to this youth rally in Birmingham. I think it was the NEC, somewhere like that. And I remember asking somebody what you were called, because I heard them say Derek, and they said he's called Derek. I went, Derek? He's called...
Thanks for that.
Because the only Derek I knew was a wimpy guy on Coronation Street. So I was like, Derek, really? He's called Derek. So that was the first time.
Can we have a commercial break here? in all the years we've been doing church, we've dedicated hundreds of children. I've never, my goal in my life, on my bucket list, is to dedicate a child called Derek. So if anybody's out there who's getting pregnant, not right now. Not right now, we hope. And I know you're in your own home. And so I want to dedicate a baby called Derek, but it's not happening soon, so I'm told. It's all like trendy names now, isn't it? So anyway, carry on, George.
Might come back one day.
So anyway, you heard I was called Derek.
And there was a few guys from your church. In our youth group, we didn't have many boys, so when we joined with another youth group, we noticed the boys. And but it was that youth rally that we both got called to ministry. Which is incredible, because I didn't know Derek, never had any conversation with him. I knew his name, and I think he knew my name. But we were sat 3 rows apart at this youth.
Yeah, I was at a theatre in Birmingham, and I was a landscape gardener at the time. I was working for Bolton Parks, and that was the moment that I knew I wanted to serve God in a deeper way. I was going to church every Sunday. I was helping out with the youth at our church, but I wanted to serve God in a deeper way. I didn't know then that the journey it would take us on. I didn't know I'd be a pastor. I didn't know I'd serve God full time. All I knew is I wanted to serve God and help people, and so that's.
Can you remember the message?
Yeah, it was. Was it a guy, Floyd McClung? Was it Floyd McClung?
I think it was Paul Alexander, and he talked about Romans 10.
No, you were in the same.
That was another guy.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Floyd McClung.
Right. Okay.
From Amsterdam, and he was talking about loving the world.
Right.
And what it means, and I think he did it based on the Good Samaritan. Yeah. It's all about loving the world. Anyway, for whoever preached, whatever they preached on, we both felt called into what we now would understand as ministry. Then we probably didn't fully understand that then, did we?
No.
I just came home. I remember getting on the coach to go home and not wanting to sit with anybody, which was unlike me because I'm a very social animal, and sat on my own on the coach back from Birmingham, looking out the window, just thinking, God, I don't know where my future is, but I'm going to trust you with it. I'm going to trust you with my future, and you can use me in whatever way you want to use me. And went home, and then for me, something started to happen that I just didn't want to be a landscape gardener anymore. Nothing wrong with landscape gardening, but I wanted to do something more. I found out about this thing called ACE Teams, which was like for training for ministry. And I signed up. It was a year-out program at the time. Found out Georgina had signed up, and so we ended up in the same college in Wales for a year. And I think then we kind of got to really like each other, didn't we? And to cut a long story short, I was on there for 3 years because they invited me back to be a leader for 2 years because I was gifted and talented.
I only did one.
Georgina only did 1 year. They got rid of us as quickly as possible. Anyway, cutting a long story short, we kept in touch over the next 2 years as I was on, as I did 3 years. And then when I finished in 1989, I moved back to Bolton, and I was wondering, what am I going to do in my life now? Do I go back landscape gardening? And I went back to my home church, and I was serving, and they offered me a job. They said, we've seen something in you, Derek, and they offered me a job. And that's about the time we got together. And after a few weeks of going out with Georgina, I knew she was the girl I wanted to marry. And so it wasn't very long after that. No. I think I proposed to her in the April. We got married in the October. So here we are, October 1980. 1990, sorry. We're both married, and you move over to Bolton, and we get married together.
I'm 22. You're 25.
Yeah, so we were very young, very babies. Didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. The church employed me, and it wasn't like our church is now, Kings. It was a church of about 120 people on a Sunday. And it was called Bolton Pentecostal Church. They met in Crawford Street. Yeah. And I just remember going in the first day. I was the only full-time employee. And I cleared a cupboard, which was a storage room out, put a desk in as there was no phone. and that was my office. And I remember sitting behind the desk thinking, okay, I'm full time now. What do I do? There's no other employees, and that's where the journey began for us.
You used to drop me off at the train station because I had a full-time job in Manchester. And we had one car. It was my car, and obviously it became our car. And we had one little white Ford Fiesta, didn't we, with little red stripes. Yeah. And then you had that during the day, and then you'd pick me up at the train station.
Yeah.
And we'd do youth Friday night, and
we did
weekends. We were saying the other day we used to sometimes have day trips on a Saturday to Southport, Pleasure Beach.
There was very few youth pastors. Nobody knew what a youth pastor was when I became one, and all I remember is, I need to get into schools, and it took a couple of years to get established to a big schools work, and we didn't have many youth in the church, but we created, our first youth group was called Turning Point.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we called it that, but we called Turning Point. And it grew to about 100 teenagers on a Friday. And we did all kind of wild and wacky things. We took them away on a lot of weekends. And looking back, I mean, we did some daft things. I mean, you'd probably get arrested for some of the things we did.
Do you remember them all coming to our house? We had a terraced house in Braidmere. And New Year's Eve, we had this mad idea that we'd have them all at our house. Yeah. Like, why on earth? What I was thinking. Yeah. We spent all New Year's Day cleaning and clearing up.
We had about 50 youth in our house, this tiny terrace. We had a DJ on in the kitchen. The kitchen floor became the dance floor. The buffet was which was a backyard, and we finished. The last one went on about 3:00, and the house was a tip. Yeah. And we don't care. We're getting into bed. We'll do it. And we spent the whole New Year's Day cleaning it. But we used to. I remember once. Yeah. I mean, this is how daft we were. I remember once the youth weren't getting on, and there was a lot of infighting. And I thought, right, I'm going to make you get on. And I remember hiring a big minibus, getting all the main kids in it that weren't getting on to each other. I took them to the base of Snowdon. I tied them.
Yeah.
To each other. If you didn't like somebody, I got you together and tied your wrists together and made you climb Snowdon tied to the person that you didn't like. And I said, you might not like them now, but you will by the time you get to the top. And if the worst thing is, if you don't like them by the time you get on the top, you can push them off the hill. Anyway, so, but we did some. I remember one clearing the Church of Chairs one Friday night and just having a mass game of rugby. In the church. The girls as well. I mean, I do apologise. People, I do apologise.
There's people out there scarred for life. Having counselling over this.
If you're out there and you're in my youth group about 91 to 94, I am sorry. That's not how you do youth ministry. So, anyway, we didn't. Nobody was teaching us. Nobody told us what to do. All we knew was love on young people.
Yeah.
And
I think we were working out. We were very young. I was 22. You was 25. We got married the same month we started, the month before. Yeah. So it was literally, I was getting used to being a young married woman and everything that, travelling to Manchester every day. We also had this sort of, pressure thinking, we've got to make this youth group work. We've got to be, got to be great pastors. I mean, even on our honeymoon, I think we were picking kids up. We got phone calls from parents and we just said yes to everything. Yeah. And I think looking back, there was one night we had a really bad argument very early on in our marriage. And I remember walking the streets of Braidmere crying, thinking, I can't tell anyone. There's no one I can go to because I'm a pastor. And there's that pressure of everything had to be perfect. And I don't think in those early days I really had anyone, who I could have just gone to, or you either. We could have we were afraid to admit any weakness or struggle, really, because we just wanted to be good at what we were doing, and we thought that meant being perfect, didn't we? Sometimes
I think we tried too hard, didn't we? And we were very conscious of creating not an image, but creating something that ministry was serious. And one of the great things that happened about that time is because the church we were in, they had a senior pastor that was employed a few months after me. I got to preach every week. We had morning and night services, and the church said the other pastor would preach in the morning, I'd preach at the night, and then it'd kind of get swapped round. So what really helped me was right from the start,
Yeah.
I was preaching at least once every Sunday, and nobody taught me how to preach. I was just basically thrown up, and I made a lot of mistakes. But I learned the art of communicating with people, and sometimes by getting it all wrong, but just working at studying, understanding how to connect with people, how to share with people, how to get spiritual principles across. And I think, if you're a senior pastor out there watching, all the best senior pastors have been youth pastors. And I think this is the reason, because you've learned your craft in front of teenagers that tell you if you're rubbish. People in church just, say thank you on the door and say nice things to you. Youth just tell you where it's at. If you're rubbish, that you're just rubbish. And so we learned that. And for the next 5 years, from 90 to 95, we were youth pastors in the church. You had jobs as well, different jobs. And we just got on with it, didn't we? And about 1995, I could sense stuff was changing in me, and I didn't fall out of love with youth ministry, but I knew my calling was really to the whole church, not just to youth. And I also recognised I wasn't brilliant at it, and there were people better at it than me. We trained a great team up, and there was people in the church that were just brilliant at it. And so 1995, my role changed, and I became like the assistant pastor to Ian Watson at Bolton Pentecostal Church. And about that time, we moved into a new building on Bury Road, which is now the Bridge. And the church really started to grow. We saw a tremendous amount of growth from 1990, around 93, 94, due to 2000. The church really grew from, maybe 180 to about 600-700, and became quite significant. We employed other staff. Sue Stokes became the youth pastor, didn't she? And my role started to broaden. I got involved more in Youth Alive, which was a national youth organisation. And we started to preach in the churches, and our ministry started to broaden out, didn't it? And we made a lot of friends, and still got them all around the UK. And that was, I think, an exciting time. There weren't many churches like ours, and people used to say I remember people used to say to me and Ian, "What did you put the growth down to?" And and then looking at you like you've got this one-liner that's going to just kill a one-liner, and people were a bit disappointed when you said, "I don't really know." I don't really know. We've just loved people. We've preached. We've served. We've given. We've been diligent. People that are in Kings were around. Phil and Ali Worsley were around at those days. And I remember Phil and Alison Worsley in the early 90s becoming Christians. And we became friends, and seeing Phil have a desire for ministry, and Ali, and they became quite friends, good friends, and still are, by the way. Good friends if I was in the early 90s. And so from 90 to 95, they were just great times of growth. We were getting to know each other, weren't we? And
we had children. We had 1993 and 96. We had both our kids.
Yeah, Abigail came along in 93.
Oliver 96.
And Oliver 96.
You went, I think one of the significant things, I remember you going to Australia a couple of times with a team. And you went to Hillsong, visited some really big churches in Australia. That's where you first heard of Paul Scanlon and Bradford. Because during this time we didn't know anything about stuff like that, did we? These big mega churches and people really changing just how everything was in church and worship and.
I think for me, looking back, because you only really understand your life looking back, don't you? And I think for me, 90 to 95, 96 was just, I was living my dream. I was still enjoying life, ministry. Around 96 for me, something happened, and it felt like an itch I couldn't scratch. It felt like there's more, and I don't know what it is. Church was good. We were earning a decent salary. We were happy. We had 2 children we loved. They were both healthy. But I just felt a bit restless, like this can't be it. There's got to be more and more. Around that time, as Georgina said, I ended up late 90s going to Australia for the Hillsong Conference, and that messed me up totally. Yeah. I came back and I'd heard Paul Scanlon speak from Bradford, and I felt like this was what I was looking for. I found a man who was articulating what deep down I believed, but didn't have the skill to articulate. So late 90s, I came home from Australia, and we started to go to Bradford a lot for teaching and their leadership days and all the things that they put on. And I think around that time, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Yeah. I think we started to see church differently. And I think at that time, around 2000, a church was starting to be born in me that I knew had to come out of me. Yeah. And so things started to change for us, didn't they? And we were still happy. We were still in a great church. We still loved the context we were in. But we knew something was going to happen. We didn't know what that was. And then we started to get offered jobs, and to go to full-time with Youth Alive was one of the jobs we got offered, and maybe to move on and take a church on of our own and all those things. But I just never felt I had the green light to do it. I always felt no, which is unlike me, because I'm pretty much, God, I'm going to do this unless you stop me. But I did feel checked that no, this wasn't the right time for us. It wasn't time for us. And I think from 2000 to 2005, was definitely something was growing within us that became almost overpowering, particularly in me, that I felt, if I don't get this out of me, I will explode. There's a church in me that isn't the one I'm in. And that was heart-wrenching. You have no idea how much pain that was to realise that was the truth. And knowing, well, what do I do? How do I get this out of us? And we used to talk at night and sit in bed and talk about the future and what do we do and where do we go and how do we do this? And what if we're no good at it? And what if I'm not called? And what if we've got it wrong and we've got 2 kids? And all that stuff going through our minds. And I think it was about 2004 where we knew something was going to happen, but we still didn't know what. We didn't feel God had been clear about what to do. And it got to the point in 2005 where we didn't know what we were going to do, but we did know we couldn't stay where we were. And it was a painful time for us. Looking back, we hold no grievances over that season. God meant it for good. And looking back, it was the trigger I needed to push me to get out of us what was in us. And so 2005, we left the church we're in June. And that was a bit tricky and, quite painful for us.
Bit messy.
Yeah. And then we kind of took a few months off. So from June right through till October time, we went on holiday to France. We chilled out.
We travelled around a little bit and to different churches on a Sunday. We didn't do anything really. We were just waiting on God. Really, we wanted to know that this was right. Because when we were going over to Bradford and hearing some of every time we went, every message that we listened to was just speaking right into our situation. Yeah. So this wasn't a rash decision, was it? It was a journey of, like you say, probably a couple of years from going to Australia and before we actually...
And I think then back end of 2005, around September, we realised that there was a church in us and we had to get it out. So... we went for a few interviews. We went for a few interviews to different churches around the country. But I remember driving up the M5 from a church we'd just been doing a weekend ministry for. And I was driving up the M5 and I'm thinking, I have no desire to do church anywhere other than Bolton. Yeah. I love this town. I've loved it all my life. I'm passionate about it. I don't want to live anywhere else. I want to live in Bolton and I love the people of Bolton. So we came back to Bolton and said, okay, this is it. If we have to stay here, we've got to start from scratch. And October the 30th, 2005, we decided we're going to start a church in Bolton. And we called it King's Church. and we did 4 meetings for preparation on a Tuesday night at Castle Hill.
Yeah.
Castle Hill in one of the small rooms, and then I think it was around the 1st of November 2005 we launched. And Open King's Church, we had about 40 people on the first Sunday, because a lot of people came to support us, family and friends from different parts of the country. But we probably had a regular Sunday attendance of about 30 for the next few months as we built with, some superstars, Adam and Susie Islip, total superstars. People like Paul and Zoe Reed and Ian and Joe were there really from the beginning, absolute superstars. And some of you watching were there from the beginning, those early days where we didn't have many musicians. And one of the things we did, and you'll love this if you were part of Kings from the beginning, is this. Because we had no office, we hired an office in the town centre above a furniture shop called Gregory and Porrett's. Yeah. And we called it The Base. And in I was doing some gardening today, and in the garage I found this, and it's the old sign from the front of The Base. If you remember that, it was outside.
Can see it a bit more.
Can you see it? And there, The Base, home of King's Church, and that was the sign outside Gregory and Porrett's. And you went through the doors, up the stairs, into our offices, and it could. We had just a few offices in a little meeting room, and we had that for several years. And looking back, we had no money, we had very few people, we had no credibility. I was working full time in Harper Green School as a pastoral manager. You had several different jobs.
Kids were like 11 and 9, weren't they then? So one of them came from they both had to come away from the friends at the church and stuff. But they were very resilient, weren't they? Really, they really coped with it well. But yeah, did you ever feel? I was thinking back. It's hard, isn't it? Because it's a long time ago now. But obviously, the security of everything, what we thought was going to be our life forever in our old church, and then starting from scratch, and we both got jobs, like you say, and we were doing it with a team in our spare time, and it was starting very small, so with limited resources. I'm wondering how we felt during that time of, how did we cope with fear, or is this going to work? Is this going to go pear-shaped, or can you remember how you felt during that time?
How did I feel during that time? Excited, nervous, broken, anxious. Because, I used to drive to the church service on a Sunday morning thinking, what if nobody's there, God?
Yeah.
What if I've let all these people down? What if I'm not good enough? What if?
Yeah.
And, I think in those early days, you learn to fight. Fight through your self-doubt, fight through your own insecurity, and let God build it through you. And I think we did that, didn't we? We learned some really important lessons in those early years of how to do church, and sometimes how to not do church. Yeah. But we did, and we kept going, and we set out on a course. We told people what the values of the church were. We didn't deviate from those. We didn't change our direction because people didn't like it. We said, this is who we are, this is what we are, and this is what we're going to do. And if you want to come on the journey with us, fasten your seatbelts. And if this isn't the journey for you, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. We're just not the right church for you. And we've always been that for 15 years at King's, and I think God's honoured that, hasn't he? So those first few years were hard because, I was working full time in school. And, it was a challenging school, and sometimes you'd come home and I'd be tired, I'd be emotionally tired, and then you'd turn your mobile phone on and you'd have 30 missed calls, and, you'd have to be dealing with pastoral issues and things. And it was a challenging time, but it was a time where we really put foundations in.
Yeah.
And we dug deep, and with a team of people that were brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and so loyal to us. And even when we messed up and we were, we didn't make every brilliant decision during that time, people were loyal to us. They were loyal to the church that was in us. And
it was hard work for everyone because they were setting up church. They'd come from churches, some of them, where everything was done. You walked in, your seat was there, and they were getting vans. I mean, Ian Scholes and
brilliant.
Dave Scholes, and there was others, Tony... Blaydon actually became a Christian through.
Yeah, me wrecking his van.
He lent us his van. And did you crash it?
Yeah, Tony wasn't a Christian at the time. He's no one about directors.
It's unbelievable that he became a Christian after that.
But, yeah, I crashed his van, and he kind of lent us. And
different venues. We didn't always know where church was going to be. If the guitarist
was on holiday,
he couldn't be on holiday. It was Ian one time. We couldn't be on holiday because if one week he was on holiday and we had to have bacon butties.
Bacon butty Sunday we called it, where you just got a bacon butty when you came in, and we had testimonies. But we had venues. We moved from that cafeteria. We moved to Horwich, to Bolton Arena. We had the sports education room in Bolton Arena, and we had to move our service to 3:00 on a Sunday. That was a bad move. And that didn't work. So after about 8-9 months of wrestling with that, we then moved it to Harper Green, where I was working full time. And that was a good time for us getting to Harper Green. It brought stability, and we started to grow again. We probably grew to about 100 people on a Sunday at Harper Green, and that was a good season of growth for us, wasn't it? And we did well. And then we were looking for a building. We've always wanted our own building, haven't we? It's something
it's a big thing.
that's been, I think a church needs a home. And the Peter Kay Theatre at Harper Green was a great venue, but it wasn't our home. And then one Saturday morning, I saw what was Unit 1, which was our old building on Bury Road, and it was right near our house. We'd never seen it before, and it was up for let. So we started some negotiation. It was way beyond financially. So I put a proposal together to our directors, Man of Faith, and took it, and we met in Rhode Island Coffee in Bolton, and I presented it to the directors that we could afford this. And the directors looked at it and said, no, we can't afford it. So I came away thinking, well, if I can't convince my directors who are for me, then I'm not worth much. So I thought we did it again and went back to them anyway. Cut long story short, about 2010, we took Unit 1 at Bury Road and we refurbed it. We made church, and for till just recently, that's where we were at Unit 1 and Bury Road. And we saw great growth there. We moved in about maybe between 80 and 100 people on a Sunday, and very soon it went through 100 and then 200 and then 300, and we started planting campuses, didn't we? And for us, it's just been, we'll take the opportunities. Wigan came shortly after that, a church that was closing down. We took that on, didn't we? And then very soon after that, we were thinking about Blackpool. We had a vision for Blackpool, and that started to come together. And since then, Salford and Gateshead and our beautiful Persian campus as well. All these kind of come out of us just saying, we're not the most talented couple in the world, as you're probably seeing as you're watching this, but we're good at saying and we're good at taking a risk, and we're good at just seeing what God does. And I think that God directs your steps as well. Where you say all these things and it just sounds as if it was so smooth. And, but actually, if we believe that God directs your steps and God's got a plan and a destiny for your life, He really, really has got a destiny for your life. So it sounds crazy, some of this journey in Blackpool. And I know you used to speak about having a church in Blackpool. Be careful what you say, because the minute it comes out of your mouth, there's power in your words. And we used to speak. One day we're going to have a church in Blackpool, great expression of, King's Church there. And it happened. And I think the power of your words, speaking out that faith, caused these. And then, the other churches that came after that. So the Bible is full of scriptures about destiny and purpose and God's plans and directing our steps. And from being a very little girl, I always felt God's hand on my life in probably 2 or 3 key times when I just really knew God was directing me, God was speaking to me. And from you being a Christian, you knew, and even before that, probably, when God protected you from things. And I think it's important to think about those times sometimes in your own life, that God is direct, even through God is bigger than our mistakes. Even through our wrong choices and mistakes,
I was reading it. Every Easter I read one of the Gospels, and this Easter I've been reading Mark. And Jesus takes the disciples and he feeds the 5,000 and he teaches them a lesson. And shortly after that, he feeds 4,000, and they've completely forgot the lesson about feeding the 5,000. And they're going like, where should we get food from again? And it says again, Jesus had to, rebuke them a little bit and say, have you not learned anything? Yeah. And life is a journey of learning, learning to trust God. And sometimes we get it spectacularly wrong, but God even trusted these guys, these 12 disciples, who got it spectacularly wrong a lot of the time and didn't learn to trust, and sometimes made big mistakes, but he still believed in them. Yeah. So
I think it's important what you just said about speaking it out.
Yeah.
You need to speak out your future. And I remember one particular time, it was a December. We were meeting at Harper Green, and we had a midweek meeting at the Friends Meeting House, the Quakers at Bolton, and it was a December evening. It was a Wednesday night, and we did something those days called the Core, which was for all the kind of people that were there. And I rocked up, and because it was freezing cold, and I'd done a long day at work, and there was only about 26 people there. And I looked down at my notes as I got up to share, and I was talking about building churches, planting churches. God was going to help us plant churches. We were going to plant churches abroad.
All the Northwest.
We were we were talking about. And I remember in that moment thinking, there's 26 people here. We've been going several years.
Yeah.
And thinking, I can't preach that because people are just going to laugh. And I can remember saying, we're going to plant churches abroad. We're going to plant churches in this country. We're going to train people for ministry. We're going to have multiple staff. We're going to be influential. We're going to do stuff in the media. And there was 26 people in that room and looking at me like, are you on drugs?
Yeah.
One or two faithful people clapping on the front row, but most people looking, are you on drugs?
Yeah.
And there's times that, I did think, what planet am I on? Who am I to say stuff like that? But what I have learned is this, that words frame your world. And so that's why I say things, and I'm a bit renowned for saying things before they happen. So sometimes my team would around and said, "Oh, don't say that just yet. We're not ready for another thing." But I'm all the time. I'm saying people know if you're part of Kings. I think Kings is going to have a primary school. I do. I think that's in our future. I keep speaking out, and people think, "Well, how is that going to happen?" I don't know. I didn't know how we were going to have a church in Blackpool. I didn't know how we were going to have any church in Bolton, but I just sense it, Dave. We're going to have a primary school. I think we're going to have a training centre. I think we're going to have so many different things. So I keep speaking them out, even though some people think, it's just wishful thinking. Well, everything I speak out seems to come to fruition. So I'm going to keep speaking things out. Yeah. We wanted a home that we couldn't afford, and with a big garden for our kids and for me, and because I love gardens, Dan. We've always gone and talked bigger. And some people just think, well, you're just arrogant and you're just a legend in your own mind. Well, I'm okay if people think that. Let them think that. That's why small people stay small. Let's risk it. Let's take risks. Let's speak well, and let's really believe. So, then the church started to grow, and we planted campuses, and we sponsor missionaries abroad, and we've got some. And our Persian. You're not supposed to have favourite campuses, and I've only got 6. I've only got 6 favourite campuses. But our Persian campus are just such beautiful people, aren't they? And people everywhere I go in the world, people always, when they know we have a Persian campus, they always say to me and Georgina, "How on earth did you plant a Persian campus?" And we haven't got a clue. We just met a beautiful couple called Faraz and Delara, fell in love with them, and just empowered them to go and do it. It was kind of started as a little life group that got out of hand, and now there's maybe 120, 150 Persians attached to Kings and come to our services, have their own unique campus, and we're so pleased at what God is doing. And you know what, church? There's more campuses in us. We're not going to stay at 6. No. There's more campuses in us. There's more projects in us. There's more. We've just moved into the mill. And we know there's been all kinds of challenges in getting that building. But I believe this. I believe the challenges of getting in that building are nothing compared to the opportunities that are going to give us over the next few years to really impact Bolton and Bury and the surrounding areas. I think God is going to use Kings to be like a lighthouse for the Northwest.
Yeah.
I think our influence is going to grow not because we're brilliant, but because we trust Him and we want to serve the body of Christ. And so we've kind of ended up here today, in the middle of coronavirus, in the middle of church lockdown and all the challenges we've got. But we're just totally in faith, and God's got this. We believe in Him.
He's got you too,
and He's got you guys, and you're part of Kings. You're part of us, and we love you very much.
Yeah.
We can't wait to give you a physical hug. But the fact that you're in our lounge, welcome to our home, and we really do appreciate it. Part of our sharing our journey today is kind of to let you into our journey. Sometimes people can come to Kings on a Sunday, and they see a big screen and it's all slick, so they say, and well, listen, it's been forged by hard work, effort, anointing, miracles, breakthrough. Really. It's 14 and a half years of trusting God. And October this year, we're really believing that as we celebrate our 15th anniversary, coronavirus will be a thing of the past. We'll all be back in our main hall, and all our campuses will come together, and we will have an incredible 15th birthday in October this year. So we can't wait for that. While you're on lockdown, we want you to be encouraged. We want you to be blessed, learn a new skill. Spend quality time with your children, particularly if they're young. Just instead of being frustrated, turn that energy of frustration into, keeping fit, doing the Joe Wicks, going for a walk, going for a jog, going for a run, just doing something. Stay safe, but learn to read and a different kind of book than you've ever read before. Read Mark's Gospel like you're doing in the moment. Pick up a Christian book. Get online and do some research. But we're really fine. We just want to pull this all together by telling you a few things that are coming up. As we know, these next few days is Easter, and we're really excited. We're really excited about Easter. All our campuses on Good Friday are going to have online services. So if you go onto the website, find out when your campus is going live, and then participate in that. I think we've got 3 at our own campus, and all the other campuses are going live. Also, our prayer and fast days every Friday. While we're in lockdown, we have allocated Fridays as prayer and fast days. We've prayed for the NHS last week, and the week before that we prayed for business people in Kings and struggling business. And tomorrow, Good Friday, we're going to pray particularly for families, vulnerable families, children. This is lockdown is not always a great time for some families who have some challenges and vulnerable people. So we just want us to pray for families in Kings, and really, may the peace of God rule in every postcode and every family. And instead of killing each other, we actually come out of this the other side really doing well. So a few other bits and pieces. Make sure you get into your Connect groups. We've had great numbers in Connect groups this week. Our first one, so well done. Thank you for everybody who's done that. And also Table Talk next week. We have a guest. Do you want to tell us who the guest is, Georgina?
Yeah, our guest is the head of AOG, which is a denomination, and it's Mr. Glyn Barrett.
So Glyn Barrett from Audacious Church will be with us next week, and he'll be answering some questions, talking about his journey, and we're looking forward to that. And then the big Easter Sunday, all the campuses are coming together, and I'm going to preach a storm on Easter Sunday, and so invite your world just to come. We'll be together for just about an hour. There's going to be some testimonies and some other things, and we're just going to celebrate the resurrection, that God is not dead, He's alive. He wants to change lives. He's an empowering God, and so Easter, we can't be physically with each other, but we can, and so make sure you put that in your diary to be online. We're going to have great weather this weekend, so I'm just looking at my notes. Is there anything else? No, I think that's all the information we have for you. Don't go anywhere just yet, because we're going to pray for you. We're going to pray for everybody in our campuses, and we thank you for coming in the Table Talk, sharing a bit about our journey. This is who we are. We're a normal family most of the time. We're a normal family. We're trying to serve God. We're trying to, just like you, make sense of all this and put it in perspective. But we've learned a few things on our journey, that our language frames our world, that, you know, he that is in us is greater than he that is in this world. All the truth of God at these kind of times of restriction and isolation can really be seen and evidenced in your life. And maybe you're watching this and you've been watching Table Talk tonight because you're bored in isolation and you don't go to church. Well, you know, King's is a great church, and at the end of lockdown, we'd like to invite you physically to our building. But even during lockdown, why don't you get on our website, come to one of our Connect groups? You'll just make great people in your own home, where you can just talk to people who are just like you on a journey of faith, trying to follow Jesus in the kind of world that we live in, and trying to make some sense of what it means to follow him. So me and Georgina love you, Kings.
Yeah.
We're for you. Yeah. We love all our campuses, those in Gateshead, our Persian campus, Salford, Wigan, Blackpool, and of course our Bolton campus. We thank you for everything that you're doing. Listen, we're here for you. Don't feel isolated, even though you're restricted. Don't feel isolated. Jump on a Connect group. Pick the phone up, make some calls. Our pastoral team across all our campuses are working really, really hard in order to really make you feel part of what we're doing, because you are part of what we're doing. So we want to pray for you, and then whatever you're doing today, whatever you're doing tomorrow, when you're not on Zoom with us or Facebook Live for our Good Friday get-togethers, have a great time. Yeah. We want you to use this time wisely and be refreshed, so that next time we can physically be I can't wait for that first Sunday.
Yeah, we'll give you a
big hug. It's going to be like Christmas Day rolled into 10, where we can just meet together and hug each other and say, we came through this. Yeah. So me and Georgina now are going to pray for you, and we want the blessing of God upon you. So thank you for logging in.
Yeah.
Glenn Barrett next week. Don't go till we pray. Georgina, will you pray for us?
I'm going to just, before I pray, anybody who's got a birthday, and Mr. James Fernley has got a birthday today, so happy birthday, James.
Happy birthday, James.
We've got a family one Saturday. So
not me. Is it you?
It's one of our children. So we're going to celebrate in the back garden with a barbecue, just the family. But yeah, it's an unusual time to have a birthday. So I just want to say happy birthday to any April birthdays out there. Yeah, just reiterate that we love you. We're missing you. God's got a destiny and purpose and plan for your life, even in all this coronavirus.
Yeah.
God's got you, and just keep walking every day in his steps. Have some God time every day. Have some grace time. Just receive some grace off God and give it to others. We need to give each other a lot of grace at the moment, because we're living with each other 24/7. And have some gift time. That was another thing that I was thinking about. Have some gift time where you operate in your gifting and you give some of that gift to somebody else. So I want to pray now. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for the journey. Thank you, Lord. You save us and then you change us. And that's not overnight, but it's a journey of growth and change. And everybody in the sound of my voice this evening, I thank you, Lord, that you've got a plan and a purpose for their life. The first plan is that you love them and you want to get to know them. Thank you that you died at Easter time for us, to show us how much you loved us. Thank you for that perfect sacrifice. You lived a perfect life because you knew we couldn't, and you lived that perfect life for us. So if there's anybody listening tonight, Lord, I pray that they will open their hearts to more of you, receive more of you. Holy Spirit, may we all receive more of you in our lives as we've got this time, living this time at home, just having a bit more time to think things through, maybe to read your gospel, read your story of what you did for us. I pray, Lord Jesus, that we'll all receive more of you into our hearts and lives, and in turn bless others. I ask in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you for tuning in to Table Talk, and see you Friday, see you Sunday, see you next Thursday with Glenn Barrett. Have a great weekend. God bless you, Kings.
Bye.
Bye.